done this once, but I was taking deep breaths off camera before I started, so I figured it would make sense to do on camera. Even myself, I forget to breathe deep and relax a lot of days, but listening to a podcast or a YouTube video, it helps you do that. So maybe get a stretch, do it on camera to let you know the behind the scenes, because I do that. And I have these for my hands, so I'll explain that later. First thing I want to talk about before the question and answer is history. I'm very skeptical of a lot of things in history because I'm very skeptical of what's happening today. And I've known for 8 or 9 years since I learned about the media. I knew how bad the media was, but I always talk about the media like reality TV. I knew reality TV was fake, but then I really figured out how fake reality television show was, and it blew my mind because I knew it was fake, but it was like 20 times faker than even I knew it was fake. It's like the whole mainstream media. I always knew it was fake my whole life, but this Trump era and even the Bernie era for a little bit brought out how really fake the media is. And I see how bad they lie about President Trump, among other things. Conservatives, certain races at certain times, certain religions at certain times, they bounce back and forth. Everyone gets thrown under the bus at some point. And I'm like, man, what if these people get to write the history of President Trump in America? They're going to frame it very wrong. And you have to understand, even with any deep description of history, it's still a summary, because Trump can be summarized in a paragraph. He could be summarized in 500 pages. He couldn't be summarized in 100,000 pages. You wouldn't be able to really capture him, and that's never going to get recorded. Who's going to record the chapter? Who's going to record the book? Who's going to record those 10,000 pages? If it was my 10,000 pages, or maybe, someone on YouTube, it would be very positive, and there would definitely be some maybe criticism in there, but I see his actions very powerful. I see his words not that off-putting and misframed totally, even his worst words, like, they always make it 20 times worse than it even really was. So that matters. And someone's going to get to make that decision. And just to let you guys know, with, I'm not saying certain, like, people are going to jump to conclusions and say, oh, he doesn't believe this and that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just skeptical of history. I'm going to give you another example from yesterday's live stream. And I wanted to actually talk about that a little before the question and answer too, because a lot of people misconstrued me, because I got into some deep topics that are not politically correct and people maybe misunderstood me. But I talked about LeBron James, and I talked about him apologizing to the Jewish community and him not apologizing to white people. And I got all sorts of messages. Most of them were pretty positive, but I just want to give you an example of how two people can see the same thing and get exact opposites. This happened yesterday. So I talked about LeBron James. I talked about, Jewish media, writing, blah, blah, blah. Just a few things here and there, but played both sides. One person said to me, you're more anti-Semitic than Richard Spencer. And this had 4 likes on YouTube. So someone watched my video yesterday, and they saw with their own eyes and their own perception, they said, this guy is more anti-Semitic, more anti-Jewish than Richard Spencer, who's, alt-right, very, like, ethno-state. He's like, I want all the white people. It's like, all right, buddy, relax. But that's who Richard Spencer is. So that's what one person said. Obviously, it's not true. And then someone else said on my Facebook page, they said, you're a Zionist Jew shill for corporate Zionist Jews. So one person thought I was so pro-Jewish that I'm working with the Israeli government and I'm a pro-Zionist Jew. That's obviously not true. You got to understand this. I said the same thing. It was pretty middle of the road. Maybe certain times I lean one way or the other. But 2 different people saw my live stream, and one person thinks I'm the person who hates Jews the most in the world, which is not even remotely true. And some person thinks I love Jews and I'm the most pro-Jewish in Israel the most in the world. I obviously can't be the most anti-Jewish and pro-Jewish person at the same time. That's not possible. And I'm obviously neither. I have great love for Jewish people, Israelis. I think there's beautiful people of every race, religion, and gender. And I don't hate an entire race or religion of anybody. That's pretty obvious. But that's the truth. And like, if that person got to write my story of my life, they would say I'm a pro-Jew, a Zionist, and I'm trying to chill around the world for Israel. If the other person gets to write my description, summary of life, they're saying I'm so anti-Jewish that I'm worse than the most white supremacist white people on the planet. That's insane. But that's just me. I'm only talking to, maybe a couple thousand people, 10, 20, 30,000 max when it goes to YouTube. But that's the polarity of how people perceive things, and perception is very crazy. So you see it with Trump, you see it with my videos, and I don't mind that, but those are the extremes. And take how they treat Trump and put it to history. I'm not saying certain things did or didn't happen. I think certain things are recorded. Videos are really great. Scripts of actual speeches are great, because then you could see for yourself, or hear or read. But I can't lie and say that I'm just really trusting in history after I see how people do things. And that even translates to, I want to say, trying to think of the right words, but things that are happening now that people... I don't want to misspeak, but I'm just super, super skeptical based on how extreme people perceive things. I guess what I wanted to say was, even on the right now and on the left, people are extreme to the point where I see them accusing not just myself, but like every person, anyone, and they're dead set on their perception. And it's, only that person knows for sure, maybe close friends and stuff, but I see how wrong people are about their perception nowadays. I see how confident, on both sides, I'm not just talking about one side, I see how confident they are in the lie and their misperception, and they'd be willing to write a history book, make a documentary. I could go on for a while about this, but I just wanted to say, what are your thoughts on history, dinosaurs, anything past 1700? I just don't know how much of it I believe. Evidence is good, and this is, not to sow distrust in whatever you want to think or believe, but I've just felt that way more and more over the last year, and it's, I guess, controversial or thought-provoking to say, and most people either don't think about it or they shoot it down, but I mean no harm by that. Someone said, clearly you hate people with long hair. I am definitely a long hair hater. I'm going to blog about it on Huffington Post and tell the world how much I hate long hair. Someone said Jesus is a Jew. Yes, Jesus was a Jew. All right, we're going to do a question and answer now. That's the end of that. I just wanted to state that real quick and just kind of explain what I was saying yesterday, because I got misconstrued clearly by both sides of that debate, and maybe I'll say that real quick and then we could do the question and answer. Here's what I was trying to say yesterday with LeBron talking about white people and Jewish people, and here I know people perceived it wrong, but I'm not saying Jewish. I've learned through my followers who support me and people. Some people think that Judaism and being Jewish, they think of it more as a religion. Some people think of it more as a race, their heritage, their DNA, and that's fine. And I'm not saying that some people message me to say, Namely, I love you, I'm Jewish. I do consider myself white. I'm sure you do, and I'm sure millions of, maybe not millions because I know there's not that many, but millions of Jewish people feel the same way, maybe millions don't. I wasn't trying to say every Jewish person thinks or does this. Like, that's literally the opposite of what I was saying, and I thought I was pretty clear with that. But I wasn't saying all people think this way or all people do this, but I'm saying there's some Jewish people who really care about the religion, some Jewish people who really care about the race. There's some Jewish people in liberal media who hate white people all the time and don't consider themselves white. That's just true. And there's also really great Jewish conservatives, or even someone like Roseanne, who, to be honest, Roseanne is more liberal. She's just very honest, and she can't lie to herself. Roseanne speaks the truth, and, she doesn't get good press. Neither does Laura Loomer, David Horowitz. I'm not saying that, Jews only get treated great or that they're all rich. Like, I wasn't saying that at all. I don't know. I thought I had to maybe clarify that, because I felt bad. Literally, I got called a Zionist and I got called anti-Semitic in the same video. I was like, well, clearly people were not listening to a word that I said. But yeah, hopefully that clarifies it. And political correctness, before I take questions again, sorry, I stalled a little bit. Political correctness doesn't help. When someone gets mad at me on either side, What actually matters is like wars and people getting sold into slavery. And even you want to talk about Jewish people in America, there's Hasidic Jewish people that get, their brains bashed in by people who literally hate Jewish people. That's happening more and more in New York, people targeting, Hasidic Jews. So these are the things that matter, the wars and type of stuff like that. And if you want to say vice versa, someone hurting anyone, it's not my perception on LeBron James or the fact that, a rap lyric hurts your feelings. That's why I can't stand political correctness. It's not because I'm mean or I hate an entire race of any sort. It's because political correctness, and when you hide behind race, when you hide behind religion, when you hide behind gender, and when you use that to lie about things, and everybody does it to some extent, it becomes a real problem. So that's why I say these things. It's not because I'm trying to be mean. It's because I know that real life consequences happen when people don't talk about things.